can do a side view and actually give a proper section that looks like an orthographic drawing. So this tool is pretty simple to use, and as you can see, it's a very easy way to get floor plans and sections of your objects. Many times we'll need to attach labels to our drawings, and we can do that using the text tool in SketchUp. Now, we've used the 3D text tool before, but the text tool itself is just a labeling system. So we can find it here under text, or we can go under tools, and you can see we have text and 3D text. So we're going to choose the text tool. You see how it highlights here? And basically it gives you an icon that looks like a label. So we can use this to basically indicate whatever we want in our drawing. So let's say we wanted to indicate the surfaces that are in our drawing. So we have this fireplace here, and that's brick. So I'm going to go ahead and just click this to that surface and just pull up and create my label. Now SketchUp will try to figure out what it is you want to label, and it's going to typically put in a dimension or something like that into the field. But you don't have to keep that. You can type in whatever you want. I'm going to type in brick and then click off of that. Now notice that this creates basically a little arrow that points to the fireplace and says brick. Now if I want, I can go into select mode, select this label, and I can move it wherever I want. So one of the things is that this label is in 3D, and notice how it's kind of intersecting here. So actually I kind of want to pull it this way a little bit, so that way it's outside of that and it's not intersecting. So let's go ahead and do another one. I'm going to again select my text option here, and let's go ahead and label our window frame. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, pull that out, and again it's trying to give me dimensions, but I'm just going to type the type of surface that is, and that's aluminum, and then just click. So again, it's giving me a label that always faces the camera, so that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and just do one more here. I'm going to, let's go ahead and just go to this ground cover here, and click here, and let's just say that back and forth and reposition them. Let's do one more. Let's do one for height here. So I'm going to go ahead and snap to the top of this chimney and go down to the bottom, and again pull this out. So as you can see, we've got our dimensions. Now this particular building is in the metric system, but this works just as well for imperial measurements as well. And if we want, we can change these just a little bit. We can certainly move them or reposition them as we want, or if we right click above them, we can edit our text. In fact, we can type whatever we want in there. I'm not going to do that. Or if we right click over it, we can change the position. We can change it to the top, the outside of the end, or the bottom. I usually like to keep these in the middle. So as you can see, it's a very simple tool, but also very valuable if you want to present your work to others. Now let's take a look at how to stay organized in Sketch. To organize your scenes, but probably the simplest way is to group objects. And this just takes a collection of faces and entities and combines them into a single entity. So here I have a basic house, and if I wanted to move it, I really couldn't just move part of it because, well, I just move only that part of it. I need to select the entire thing. If I were to, say, marquee select the whole thing, I could certainly move it that way. But that can get kind of complex, particularly if you have a complex scene. It would be hard to isolate just those things you want to move. And this is where grouping comes in very handy. We can group in one of two ways. If I select everything, I can right-click above it, and we have an option here called Make Group, and that's probably the easiest way to do it. You can also find Make Group under the Edit menu. So however you select it, all you have to do is Make Group, and when you do that, it creates this single entity. And now I can just select it and move it however I want. If I want to, say, scale it, I could do that as well, and everything sticks together. So all I have to do is click anywhere on this, and it's selected. Now, there are times when you may need to tweak or adjust your model, and in order to do that, all you have to do is select the group and double-click on it. So when I double left-click on it, double-click to open it, and that way you can access whatever you want, and then double-clicking outside of it closes the group. So as you can see, this is a really nice way to keep your objects organized in your scenes. Another way to organize your scene is to use layers. Now these allow you to have named groups of objects that can be shown or hidden. So here we have a simple scene, and I've already set up some layers. We can get to layers by going into Window, Layers, and this is our little layer editor here. Now in our layer editor, we have currently 4 layers. Now the first layer is layer 0. Now that's the default layer that SketchUp always provides. If you draw something in SketchUp, it will always go into this default layer. And on top of that, we can add our own. So we have one for the house, we have one for the fence, and we have one for the plants. Now we can hide or show any one of these. So if I click on this visibility tab, I can, for example, hide or show the house, hide or show the fence, or hide or show the plants. But now when I click on this, notice I'm going to get an error message. And the error message says I can't hide the current layer. The current layer is determined by this radio button here. So this is the current layer. So if I create anything new in this scene, it will show up in this layer. So for example, if I were to just draw a simple shape such as a rectangle, it's now in this current layer. So if I switch my current layer to layer 0, I can now hide my plants along with that new object that I drew into it. So when you draw things with a layered scene, you need to make sure that you're on the proper layer when you start drawing. I'm going to go ahead and select this object and delete it. And let's go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to create a new layer here. Let's just create a sidewalk in front of our house. So I'm going to create a layer called Sidewalk. And I'm going to make it the active layer. So now whatever I draw is going to go into this layer. So I'm going to make a very simple sidewalk. I'm going to select my rectangle shape here and left click and just drag something resembling a sidewalk out in front of it. And then I can use my push-pull tool to just give it a little bit of volume so that we have something that looks like it's in 3D. So now I have these faces and edges in this layer. So if I go to a different layer, I can hide or show that layer. Now if I want, I can also delete this layer. So let's go ahead and make, say, the house the active layer. And now I'm going to select my sidewalk layer and delete it. So I'm going to hit the minus sign here, and it says delete layer. Now it's going to ask me a question. Do I want to move the contents to the default layer, which is layer 0, to the current layer, radio button? So now and when I hide it, hide layer 0, it's now in that layer. So as you can see, this is a great way to organize complex scenes. So I hope you can use layers in your projects. If you want a little bit more control over your sketch, you can switch that on or off here. So I can edit any of my components to those original creation parameters. So if I wanted to, I could change where it glues to. Also these ones which are grayed out, such as face camera or face the sun. So creating components is very, very useful. It's a great way to standardize objects that you use. So go ahead and start creating components for your own SketchUp projects. One of the great things about SketchUp is that it has a really good community of users. And these users love to